today I'm going to be reacting to Taylor from Coaster Studios' top 25 roller coasters he's ridden. Full credit for the video goes to Taylor for making the video, obviously. I'm just going to be reacting to it. And if you'd like to see my personal top 15 roller coasters I've ridden, I just posted that yesterday. So you could check that out by going into the description and tapping the link or clicking the link. And yeah.
Every coaster enthusiast at some point or another creates some sort of list that is their way of figuring out what their favorite roller coasters are. And believe it or not, many of you guys may not know this, but I'm actually not a huge fan of listing things because despite the fact that I'm actually known for listing things, sometimes it is so hard to figure out which one of these rides you would rather ride. They're all so good, I almost want to pull my hair out deciding which one of these I like more. However, despite all that, I have come up with this year's list ranking the roller coasters that I have ridden. Before I go into this, I do need to state that my opinions change all the time. My opinions changed right before I made this video. I switched around some of these rides. And my logic behind the rankings for all this is I take two coasters and I ask myself which one of them would I rather ride. And whichever one I pick, I move up a spot. I've ridden over 420 different roller coasters, so compiling them into a top 25 is no small feat. Because every ride on this list I would consider phenomenal. On a scale of 1 to 10, they'd probably all get 10s. So I apologize if your favorite coaster isn't on here, but just know that this was a really hard list for me to do. There are so many rides that I wish could make it on here that don't. And I'll kind of discuss some more of that at the end, but let's get into this. Just barely making the cutoff is Boulder Dash. For a lot of people, this is their favorite wooden roller coaster, and this ride is fantastic. It uses the terrain very well. There's a lot of great airtime moments. I got to experience it for the first time this past year, and it was a very enjoyable coaster. A bit rougher than I was expecting, but the airtime makes up for that. Next up is Thunderbird at Holiday World, and I love this ride. I have a soft spot for Thunderbird. It is by far my favorite wing coaster. That launch is fantastic. It's so smooth. It is very enjoyable. The inversions are fun, and when you pack all that together, you have a very re-rideable coaster. Holiday World knocked it out of the park with this one. Kumba is taking our number 23 spot. This is a B&M sit-down coaster at Busch Gardens, Tampa, and man, is this ride intense. This is my favorite coaster in the park. It takes you through several inversions, and it is a powerful ride. It packs it in, and I was surprised how smooth it is, considering how old the ride is. It's been around for a while, but it is still running glossy smooth. So I'm a big fan of Kumba. And surprise, surprise, look what coaster made this list. It's X2 at Six Flags Magic Mountain. The last time I had ridden this coaster, I had only gotten on it once, and I wouldn't even put it in the top 10 coasters at Magic Mountain. However, it turns out all you have to do is ride on the inside seat, and the ride is actually really good. So even though the experience is pretty crappy on the outside seats, the inside seats make up for it, and man, I had an awesome ride on it this past October. So just be careful where you sit on this ride. If you get a good ride, it's going to be excellent. If you get a bad ride, it's going to be bad. And I know some people, this is like their favorite coaster. So to those people I say, just be glad that this actually made this list, because I think a lot of people were expecting this not to be on here just because of my past experience. Moving on, number 21 is New Texas Giant at Six Flags Over Texas. This was my first ever RMC, and it was the first RMC. There's no inversions or anything, but it is a super long ride. You get lots of great ejector airtime. I love how it works in the tunnels. I think sometimes it's overlooked in favor of some of the newer RMCs, but this still holds up. And next we have Manta at SeaWorld Orlando. I know everyone's talking about Mako, the newest coaster at SeaWorld Orlando, but this one is still a fan favorite. It's an absolutely beautiful ride to just watch, and those elements are amazing. Gotta love a good pretzel loop. And of course the way it interacts with the water, fantastic. Not to one-up it, but literally one-upping it is Tatsu at Six Flags Magic Mountain. My favorite flying coaster. At one point I did prefer Manta, however this past October when I got on Tatsu again, I forgot how just massive this ride is. Its layout is amazing, the inversions are very well done, and that pretzel loop is just madness. I was very impressed with this coaster. Back seat is the way to go, by the way. Taking the 18th spot is Afterburn, my personal favorite inverted coaster. I've had the pleasure of riding every B&M in America, and out of all those inverted coasters, Afterburn still holds up as my favorite. I love its pacing, it's very intense, and the elements are very well done. It's also got a great theme of airplanes. As soon as you leave the station, you are cleared to take off. You start going up that lift hill, go down through a drop, loop, Immelman, the whole shebang. It is a fantastic roller coaster. Number 17, this may surprise some people, it is Ghost Rider at Knott's Berry Farm. I liked this coaster last time I rode it, but oh my gosh, after I rode it again a few months ago, I forgot just how intense this thing is. You get in the back seat night ride, man, this ride hauls. It is incredible. I never got to experience it when it was rough, but oh my gosh, smooth Ghost Rider is the way to go. This ride is freaking amazing. Just a backseat night ride was enough to push this coaster significantly higher in my rankings than when I last had it. The next spot is for Phantom's Revenge at Kennywood. I love how this ride uses the terrain and is so much ejector airtime. The lap bars like don't even touch your body. You're flying at crazy fast speeds. Of course, this ride is famous for having a second drop that is bigger than the first one. Neither drop disappoints. This ride is so unique and it is absolutely worthy to be on this list. So we've made it to our top 15. Number 15 is Lightning Run. This is a Chance Hyper GTX, the only one like it, and I am still surprised that it is the only one like it. There's so much ejector airtime on this ride. It has a small layout, but this coaster proves that you don't need to be a humongous roller coaster to be absolutely fantastic. It's glossy smooth, so much twistiness. Again, a backseat ride, man, it is insane. And number 14 is Mako. It is the only B&M Hyper coaster to make this list. It is my favorite B&M Hyper. It's not that I dislike B&M Hyper coasters, but I'm a big fan of coasters that are more intense and more focused on ejector airtime. So there's a lot of these hyper coasters that I like, but none of them were able to make this list with the exception of Mako at SeaWorld Orlando. Mako's different than the rest. You got a really strong layout where every single hill gives you crazy airtime. There's even an ejector speed hill, and the way that it banks over the water. It's simply the best B&M Hyper. Feel free to disagree with me, but that's just my opinion. Skyrush is the largest coaster at Hershey Park, and with this ride, you either love it or you hate it. I love it. The restraints have never really bothered me like they bother some people, but I love all the ejector airtime hills. It's a quick ride, but this ride uses all its speed and momentum to its advantage. You are flying through the course. It is non-stop action. And 12 is a fan favorite for a lot of coaster enthusiasts. It is Cedar Point's Maverick, the only coaster at Cedar Point to make this list, which I know is going to upset a lot of people that Millennium Force didn't make my top 25. But Maverick, I mean, I love this ride. Who doesn't love Maverick? You got a fast-paced ride, low to the ground, lots of crazy bank turns, and that launch halfway through. Can't help but love this coaster. It's a mini Intimidator through 5, which we're getting to that coaster later. Just barely missing the top 10 is Mystic Timbers. This is my personal favorite GCI roller coaster. I love its quick pace, so much ejector airtime. A lot of people didn't like the shed, and that's fair, I can understand that. But when you focus on the rest of the ride elements, oh my gosh, this ride was way better than I think a lot of people were expecting. It's my favorite coaster at Kings Island. It does not disappoint. Every single ride I've gone on it, I have absolutely loved it. My personal favorite seat is the back. You really get whipped over everything. It's amazing. So we've made it to my top 10. Now we're really getting into the crazy awesome rides. This is Twisted Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Holy guacamole, this ride is amazing. It is sheer brilliance by Alan Schilke. Because wow, I love how you get to do both sides. The downside is that the park seems to have a hard time dueling this thing. The last time I rode it, I did not get a dueling ride either time, which is disappointing. It's still a really strong ride, but when it is dueling, it is that much better. I had this ride higher up originally, but until the park learns to actually duel this thing 90% of the time, I just don't know if I can put it any higher than my top 10. But a ride that has gone up a few spots since the last time I did a list is Outlaw Run at Silver Dollar City. Holy moly, a night ride on Outlaw Run when it is hauling is the craziest thing ever. You can't see a thing. The ride is absolutely flying. It is non-stop element after element. You got 3 inversions, lots of bank turns, ejector airtime, a wave turn. Oh my gosh, I loved this coaster after I got to experience it again my last time I went to Silver Dollar City. Another ride that's gone up is Storm Chaser. The last time I had done this list, I had experienced it when it didn't have the proper wheels, but after this year I got to experience it to its full potential, and man, this ride hauls butt. The ride flies through its course, ejector airtime hill after ejector airtime hill, couple of inversions. I love that barrel roll drop, and it is non-stop speed to the very end. Huge fan of this ride. And just barely ahead of it is Wicked Cyclone at Six Flags New England. Let me tell you, I've only been to Six Flags New England once, but I absolutely loved marathoning this thing, almost getting 10 rides on it. It's such a compact layout. By the end, you are weaving in and out of the structure, staying really low to the ground. You're flying through several inversions. Every row on Wicked Cyclone is good, but again, with these RMCs, you gotta sit towards the back if you want the best experience. Wicked Cyclone exceeded my expectations, and I had a really hard time deciding between that and Iron Rattler at Six Flags Fiesta Texas.
Wow.
I ended up putting this just one spot ahead, but it's really close. What I love about Iron Rattler is its twisted drop. The sheer size of that drop, it is absolutely incredible. Its inversion is very well executed. My personal favorite part of the ride is when it dives off the cliff. When you're sitting in the back and you just go off the edge, oh my gosh, you're free falling and it is madness. Iron Rattler is a must ride if you are a coaster fan. So we've made it to my top 5. The number 5 spot is Intimidator 305.
Oh.
I've ridden this coaster more than any other on the planet. I very much have a soft spot for this coaster. It is so intense.
Wow.
I know if you're a first-time rider, you may not love it, but if you love it, then you
Damn,
might
it went
put it a
far
bit higher.
back.
But because I ride it so much, I don't think I appreciate it as much as a first-time rider would, but I still love it enough where it makes my top 5. So what coasters have I put above it? The number 4 spot is Voyage at Holiday World. This ride is crazy long, so much airtime. Like, it is amazing how much this ride throws you out of your seat. It just keeps on going. If you get a chance to ride it trimless at night, that is one of the greatest coaster experiences you could possibly have. That very reason is why I've put this coaster so high. And next is another wooden coaster,
Yes,
big favorite
El
of mine,
Toro.
El Toro. Oh my gosh, I love this ride so much.
my number
You almost
one.
get bruises on your thighs from getting thrown up out of your seat so much on this ride. The airtime, I just can't describe it. There's simply nothing else like it. Its layout is so good. Those hills are absolutely massive. And there's so many great hand choppers as you're making way back after that big turnaround. And I had a really hard time deciding between that and my number 1 wood coaster, Lightning Rod at Dollywood. Look, this coaster, it took a while for me to get on it, but man, once I actually got on it, boy was it sweet. The launch is amazing, the airtime is amazing, that quadruple down, probably one of the single greatest elements on a roller coaster in the history of ever. Now, since I last rode it, I understand that they've added some sort of trim or something where it isn't going as fast over the top. I've not experienced that yet, so maybe if I did, I wouldn't rank this coaster quite as high, but I did get to experience Lightning Rod in its fullest potential. So taking that into consideration, that is why I've put it at my number 2 spot, leaving my number 1 coaster as Fury 325. This is still my favorite coaster after I rode it opening year. Now, since most
I don't know,
enthusiasts
it
have
looks
gotten
good,
around to
but not
riding
that
it,
good.
I know there's a lot of people that would consider it overrated or not worthy of the number 1 coaster in the world title, and I can understand that, but when I first rode it, it was my 100th roller coaster, and at the time there wasn't a whole lot of hype around it because it was still so new. So I was absolutely blown away. My expectations were exceeded. I love this ride. I love its elements. I love its color scheme. I love its logo. If you get a front seat night ride on Fury 325, it doesn't get much better than that. Of course, my favorite element is still that dive under the bridge. You bank so high up and then just fly under the pedestrians. It is such a cool experience. Fury 325 at Carowinds is my number 1 roller coaster, but I want to hear from you guys what your favorite roller coasters are.
Toro.
Again, this is just my personal list based off of the roller coasters that I have experienced, and you're welcome to disagree with me. I encourage you all to create your own lists and don't judge roller
That
coasters
just came
based
out
off
yesterday.
of my opinions. Go out and experience them for yourself, and if you disagree with me, that is totally fine. I already know a lot of people are going to be giving me flack that Millennium Force, Leviathan, Superman the Ride, Dragster, all those great rides aren't on my top 25. So I apologize for that. Like I said, my opinions are constantly changing, and when you've ridden that many roller coasters, it really is hard to rank them. This just so happens to be the placement that I have come up with. I'm excited to see how it changes in the future. So that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. I welcome you to comment your top 25 or top 10 favorite roller coasters. And of course, you can stay tuned for more countdowns. I have more coming here at Coaster Studios. Thank you for watching.
Wow. That was pretty crazy.